Welcome back to another episode on TNG's Political Current podcast. I'm your host, Fatima Al Zain, and today we're speaking with Dr. Mohammad Tahir, a London-based orthopedic and peripheral nerve surgeon who has gained international recognition for his dedicated medical missions in Gaza as Chief of Surgery with Fajr Scientific. We will be hearing about his firsthand experiences there and how they shaped his identity as a doctor, Muslim, and human being. Thank you so much, Dr. Tahir, for joining us today. I wanted to start with your story, which is quite a powerful one. You really risked it all, leaving behind a promising career here in the West and deciding to volunteer in Gaza. Can you take us through the weeks before you made that big decision?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you very much for having me. The events that led to the decision to go to Gaza very much like the feelings that I have today. We're witnessing slaughter, a live genocide on TV, on our mobile phones, on our handsets. And much like I am today, I was then. I was gripped to my phone. I would be watching to see what new tragedy has unfolded, how many more people have been killed. I would go to sleep, and the last thing I'd be watching is the news from Gaza, and the first thing I wake up with a heavy heart and just think, oh my God, who else has been killed? Except now, it just feels a lot more real because I know people there. I have friends and brothers and sisters that I love very much and I care for, and I pray for deeply because now I have a personal interaction. So it's just a lot more real now. And the helplessness that I felt then, I feel a little bit today. But we'll come on to that, I suppose. At that time, that feeling of helplessness was choking me. I started to question, what am I doing? I started to ask myself, if not me, then who? It was about 6 months into the war, and I saw scenes, children, and there was one particular scene of a young girl that was maybe no older than 6 or 7, who was on the icy cold floor of a unknown hospital in Gaza, who was disemboweled and was gasping and taking her last breaths right before a camera, and her life simply faded away, and she stared into the distance. And it was, for me, the last straw. I made that decision there and then. And also, my background, being taught about the story of Imam Hussein, Salamullah alayh, which is a story that echoes through the generations. And when Imam Hussein stood on the battlefield of Karbala and said, Hal min nasirin yansuruna, this is something that was always etched into my mind. And I look at Gaza then, and I look at Gaza now, and it's the same. The people scream, Hal min nasirin yansuruna. Is there somebody that will come to us to help us? To help us gain victory? But much like it fell on deaf ears then, it falls on deaf ears today. I made a decision then to make my way to Gaza, but in sort of couple of weeks before actually departing, it was sort of 4 weeks before leaving, and making the decision and leaving. In the couple of weeks before that, some acquaintances and friends started to tell me that Rafah, which was the border that we would cross from in those days, was about to be hit. That I
Mm.
shouldn't go, because if I was to go, I would be trapped inside or worse. And people tried to dissuade me from going, and like anyone really, I started to feel a bit of fear. It started to feel a little bit more real, and the shaitan started to whisper to
Hmm.
me,
How did
who's
you overcome that fear?
yeah. So the shaitan was, I mean, the sort of thoughts that I would have was, I mean, who's going to look after your mother if you die? And
Mm.
life is so good. Why would you risk it? There are other people that
Right.
are going. Is one person really going to make that much of a difference? And what if you get maimed or hurt, and you can't do anything anymore? Your career is gone. And I, for me, I said I would do istikhara. So it was close to midnight, and I made the decision to make istikhara. I went and I laid the sajjada down. I faced the qibla. I prayed 2 rak'at. I made the dua, and then I opened the Quran, and the ayah, wallahi thumma wallahi, the ayah that came to me was, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا ما لكم إذا قيل لكم انفروا في سبيل الله اثاقلتم إلى الأرض
Oh,
أرضيتم بالحياة الدنيا من الآخرة فما متاع الحياة الدنيا في الآخرة إلا قليل.
wow.
يعني I was by myself, and I was, Ya Allah, what is this ayah? يعني Allah, Ya Allah. And I made sajda. I felt khushu' in my heart, and I said, this is direction. This is tawjih. And
Yeah.
I said, and I promised to myself that whatever the cost, this is something that I must now do. And then I made that was the decision. That's it. And that changed my life. And that verse gave me courage, and it gave me conviction. And I
Mhm.
went forth, and then I made my way.
At one point, you mentioned that you hadn't told your mother that you were going at the time. How did she react when she found out?
That's correct. When I first entered, I told her I was going to Egypt, and
Hmm.
she's a very anxious person. She's
Mm.
going to be 80 next month, inshallah. She's
Allah
elderly.
يطول.
Allah يخليكي. And I just didn't see the value of worrying her.
Hmm.
And so I told her I was going to Egypt, which wasn't a lie, because you have to go to Egypt and then cross into Rafah.
Hmm.
And I went to Rafah, and the first thing I saw was the European Gaza hospital, which has just recently been bombed, hit with bunker busters, and in fact nearly killed one of my colleagues. He actually sent me a screenshot of where he was, and
Mm.
this video where you see people being propelled into the air like they're
Hmm.
dolls. He's on the sort of far top right hand corner of that image, hiding, and he could have been
Mm.
blasted to smithereens. And I was there in the European Gaza hospital, and that was the first place I went to. And it was not a hospital; it was a refugee camp. There were thousands of people living in the
Wow.
hospital, and people was living in corridors, on staircases, outside in the courtyards, just absolutely everywhere. You can imagine having that amount of people in a hospital creates a lot of strain on a hospital in terms of sanitation and so on.
Hmm.
But these are desperate people fleeing, being slaughtered, and they were all escaping the destruction in Khan Yunis. And of course, I went to see Khan Yunis, and it was apocalyptic. It was destroyed, completely leveled, and nothing left standing. But anyway, I was in the European hospital, and like my acquaintances predicted, Rafah was bombed. It was taken, and then my situation changed became very different. We started to see a lot of war injuries. It became much more real. And one day, I was in the ER, in the resuscitation room, when there was a mass casualty incident. And they brought a young male wrapped
Hmm.
in a blanket, and they laid him on the floor. So I opened the blanket, And then I looked, and what I saw was a man with no head. The head was completely destroyed. There was just fragments of flesh and paste. And I had this moment where I was looking, and I thought to myself, wow, this is what I used to see on my phone. It's now before my very eyes. It was a shock. And I started to scream, Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakil, Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakil. And little did I know, someone was recording that. And it was the first sort of video of myself that went, if you like, viral. And I went around the world, and it found itself in my mother's phone. And
Is
then
that
my
how she
mother
found
knew.
out?
That's how she found out I was in Gaza. It was a shock, of course, a shock for her. And she was very worried. But, I made it home. My mother's journey along with me is quite something. It's quite a story. I'll tell you a little bit about my mother's patience with this. So in the beginning, she didn't know, as I said. And then it went from that to, I'm trying to remember if it was between my first mission and second mission, or second and third. But basically, my family sat me down, and, were trying to convince me that I'd done my part.
This is after you would come back the first
It's after
time.
I'd come back. Either the first or the second time. That I'd done my part, that I'd fulfilled my obligation, that it was the opportunity for others to step up. And I was feeling this pressure to abandon my mission in life, which is what it seemed like now. And I just these words of our dear Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam came to my mind, and I turned around to my family and I said to them, "Wallahi, وضعت الشمس في يميني والقمر في يساري على أن أترك هذا الأمر ما تركته." And they looked at me and they said, "This is a man whose mind is made up. We cannot convince him otherwise." And so it fell into silence, and I made my way. And then came mission number 3. I was already in Gaza, and I promised the people I would stay to the very end of the war. And a month came and went, and another month came and went, and a third month came and went. And I said to, a departure date just appeared on the horizon. And I even did farewell to everyone. We did a ceremony. I said my goodbyes, and then I was sat with myself and thinking, I gave these people my word, my promise that I would stay with them to the very end. Why am I leaving? And people would look at me and they would say, "It's okay, Dr. Muhammad. You've done your bit, Dr. Tahir. You've done your bit. From Gaza, go see your family, be with your mother." I said, "Ya Allah." And I don't think they quite understood what I was saying here. But when they asked me what was wrong with me, I would say to them, إني أخير نفسي بين الجنة والنار. That I am choosing between paradise and hellfire, because now Gaza was, despite the carnage, it was the closest thing to paradise. I knew if anything was to happen to me there, I would be a martyr in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There'd be no doubt about it. But on the outside, then you have the world and its pleasures and its whims and its distractions, and you have the evil of man. And I said I would speak to my mother. I called her and I said to her, I have been away from you for some time now, but I need to be here. I have given them my word, and the people need me, the children need me, and I cannot come, mother. And she said to me, "You must stay." So she went from not knowing to someone who tried to dissuade me, like any mother would, to telling me that I must stay. And there was a very simple decision then. And it was only a couple of hours before departure date that I said, I'm not going. And I stayed.
Mhm.
And I got to then witness the end of the war. And, well, what we thought was the end of the war.
Mhm.
So my mother's story in this is a story of patience. When I said to her I was coming now to go to Gaza again, of course I've been refused entry twice now.
Mhm.
It was like like anything, no
It was
no
normal
no
now.
no drama. Okay, ma salama,
It's
kind of
like you're
thing.
going to groceries and coming back.
Yeah, she was very accepting. I think
Mhm.
it's the dua of
Alhamdulillah.
all the people across the world for her.
Mhm.
But I tell this story because there's a reason why. I'm sat with friends sometimes, and I jokingly say to them in front of their mothers, "I'm going to take him with me to Gaza next time." And the mothers will say, "No, no, 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 not my son." But why? Why are our mothers and our fathers not prepared to give their sons and whoever for this cause, like the
Mhm.
others have? Well, what's this illness in us? What's this fear in us? What's this? What's stopping us? We have to start questioning this because we will not be free unless us as individuals are prepared to make these sacrifices. We continue to be enslaved. Look around us now. We're being milked for hundreds of
When
billions, and our
yeah.
people in Gaza are being slaughtered at unprecedented rates. My friend today messaged, he put a post out. He tagged me so I can share his message. He said, "We feel like we're experiencing the day of judgment. It is carnage everywhere. We're being killed right now as Trump is being entertained and sang for and danced for and the rest of it." APAC spent 200 million or thereabouts to prize away all these American politicians. We
Mhm.
spend hundreds of billions and we cannot even take one bottle of water into Gaza. What do you say about the state of affairs for us as a people? And so the story of my mother is an example of how we must all be as Muslims, as Arabs, as people of righteousness. We must give for this cause. We're prepared to sacrifice ourselves, our families, our wealth, everything. This is an existential battle. And I don't think people quite realize how dangerous the times
You know,
are.
it's very powerful as someone who has actually gone and witnessed and seen the suffering and the absolute horrors that there are in Gaza in person, for you to come and say, we must sacrifice ourselves and our families. Right now, if you were to ask any average person, will you give up everything for this cause? It's a very hard question to answer.
It is for those who, I suppose, still cling firmly to this world, like very much like the
Mm.
ayah. The ayah that I encountered when I did my istikhara. O believers, why do you cling firmly to this earth when you are called upon in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala?
Mhm.
Why am I clinging firmly? It's a mindset. If I believe that this life is finite, it is not to be taken as the permanent home.
Mm.
It's just a stop on the way to the destination. And what we do here changes where we go. If you have that belief and you believe it truly in your heart, then whatever will come in this life, hardship, suffering, much like how the Palestinians are showing us and the Lebanese did as well, and the Yemenis,
Mhm.
hardship, suffering, loss of our lives, loss of our wealth, loss of our families, all for the way of Allah, then take, Ya Rabbi. خذ ما
Mhm.
شئت. If this is a feeling in your heart that you believe in, that this is just a stop, then it's a very easy decision. And so what? This is, this brings us to another point, which is how do we remedy the situation that we're in?
Yeah.
Uh, and you can, I've had this discussion with some thinkers, right? And it's a bit like, do I stop the attack? Say it's like a virus. Do I prevent the virus from reaching me, or do I strengthen my immunity?
Mm.
The answer is both, right? We stop the virus from reaching us by defeating sectarianism and
Mm.
nationalism, by being united, by seeing my Muslim brother as my actual brother, that his
Mm-hmm.
blood and his wealth are forbidden to me. And if not Muslim brother, then at least your brother in humanity, as Imam Ali salamullah alayhi says. So that's one aspect. And then the other aspect is strengthening our immunity. So what are we doing about our faith? Now, faith is not a linear, it's not projection. You're born
Mm.
and you just gain faith. Faith is a waveform. It goes down, it goes up. I'm one of those people that lived in the West. Our faith was weak at times, it was stronger at others. The life, الحياة الدنيا تغر. That's what it does. But how do we work on our hearts to make them
Mm.
stronger? We draw maybe inspiration from people who have sacrificed and attained glory. We have, in the best of examples is our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And and then when you have times like where we're being enslaved, where we are forced to give up our principles, forced
Mm-hmm.
to bow, we say hayhat min ad-dilla, because that's the example, the inspiration from Imam Hussein
Yeah.
alayhi salam. And then we have more modern examples of people standing up, and yes, they paid with their lives, but really they attained glory. And
They made that stand for justice.
they made a stand for justice, whereas
Mm-hmm.
others now kneel. Others who
Mm-hmm.
claimed that they stood for justice now kneel. They bend the knee.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't, because we have inspiration. We take inspiration from the correct persons. And
Mm-hmm.
of course, you're supposed to live for this life as if you live forever. But
Yeah.
you live for your hereafter as if you were to die tomorrow. This is a balance.
It's a
But the
very fine
hereafter
balance.
is much greater than this life.
You went back and forth a couple times between London and Gaza, correct? How long was the amount of time total that you spent in Gaza?
7 months inside Gaza over the course of I think it was 9 going in and out, and then and the time out was forced. I couldn't
Yeah.
make it any sooner. So 7 months inside, nearly 1,200 procedures. We helped many people, many people, myself and my team. My team are phenomenal. So when I think of my organization, I think of my guys on the ground in Gaza,
Mm.
the logistics team, the nurses, the doctors on my team, my medical students, all the local doctors, the porters, the cleaners, the guys on the wards, the hospital management, the guy on the street, the patients. I think of all of these people so often. But yeah, my team made it all possible because the way we work there, it's like jihad,
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to be scared. I said jihad. No, jihad means to struggle against anything that deviates you from uh, conscience in Allah, or belief in Allah, or following Allah's commandments. That's what it means. And we're struggling to save lives, to save limbs, and fighting in that arena. We don't have guns, we
Mm-hmm.
have scalpel, and the team around us. That's such everybody just pulled their weight and did their part. And our slogan in Gaza became حتى مطلع الفجر, or until the rise of dawn, because we would work until Fajr prayer. day
Mm.
after day after day after day, non-stop. I don't think there's a single day in Gaza that I didn't operate on. Even the days where I would be forced to give a bit of respite to my team, we'd do some kind of activity, which was very rare, by the way, but say visiting the Christian church in
Mm.
Gaza City, to go and show solidarity to our Christian brothers and sisters, or to take them to the sea just to feel the wind and just to see the sunset, or just to feel
Mm.
a bit of break from slaughter. But then when they would all come back, and they would all go retire to their rooms, I would go straight to the operating room and just wait there for trauma. But yeah, my team, nothing that I did was possible without them. And I pray for them and I worry about them. Every day I'm concerned that one of them might be killed. And it's a very real thing.
Mm. For you right now, you describe Gaza with such faith, with such iman. Does struggle bring you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala?
Without doubt. Without doubt. I think so there was one, it was on my first mission. I was operating and it
Mm.
was, I think it was like 2 a.m. Nobody around me was operating. We were the only OR that was open, and I had my team around me. And then I had this epiphany, I had this thought.
Mm.
I said to myself, Ya Allah, your knowledge and your presence is everywhere. Um, so imagine what it would be like in a place like this, where your servants are being slaughtered, where there is oppression, where there is
Mhm.
starvation, where there is hunger. You must be watching everything, Ya Allah. And so if you are watching everything, Ya Allah, you are watching my hands, Ya Rabbi, while I'm operating. And I just had just this connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at that moment, where I felt him and I trembled and I just said, Ya Rabbi, yani, and I just had this moment where I looked at my hands and I said, I just had this thought that Allah is, of course Allah is everywhere and his knowledge is everywhere, but I just was just much more aware of it. And I didn't achieve that feeling or have that feeling anywhere on earth.
Mhm.
And it's just unquestionable.
Every doctor has that one story that sticks with them, but for you, it's a lot. It's many stories. What is, if you can pinpoint one thing that, you always remember and you will never ever forget, one scene that you've witnessed?
There are many.
What's the one that takes you back every time?
I have many that take me back. It just depends which one comes to my mind first. I saw terrible things, terrible things. Um, there's there's the time when I was in the resuscitation room in Shuhada Al-Aqsa Hospital, and there was a mass casualty incident, and there were two children that were confirmed gunshot injuries to the head, and two other children that were blast injuries with shrapnel injuries to the head. Although I could be mistaken and they could all have been gunshot injuries, but I was particularly focused on one child who was laying there on the floor, and then it was sort of a flashback to that image of that girl. So, but this child was laying on the floor. He had a bandage on his head, but he had vomited on himself, and his eyes were becoming fixed and dilated, and they were getting there, and he was choking. He was gasping, and I couldn't bear to just let him die alone. So I didn't do much. I just held his hand and I wiped his head and I tried to comfort him, just thinking, If he can feel, then at least he will not feel alone, that somebody's holding his hand.
Mhm.
Uh, and then he died. He was martyred. And there are many stories of children uh, dying before our very eyes, babies included, like actual babies. It was a time where, we literally drowned in blood, and we drowned in death. And it was unacceptable, just unacceptable. Unacceptable.
Mhm.
Any people, Arab, Muslim, or otherwise, would have to suffer like this. It was just deplorable, disgusting. It was a stain on the conscience of humanity. It's a stain on the conscience of humanity for all time. In fact, this will be in the history books as a time where the whole world watched as Zionists slaughtered Palestinian children and women, and the Arabs and the Muslims did nothing really of significance to stop it, bar a few people that paid with their lives, like the Lebanese and the Yemenis, and that's it. And the rest just did nothing. Don't lift a finger. Even now, today, as I said before, decorating the person who provided Netanyahu with unlimited resources to slaughter and kill, gave him
Mhm.
all the bunker busters, all the latest weaponry, and we decorate him and we fill their coffers with hundreds of billions of dollars. And I'm waiting for a message at any moment to tell me my friends and my colleagues have been killed. I'm living with this fear right now. Um, Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakeel. Oh,
A lot
hasbi
of
Allah.
prominent organizations in the West have remained very neutral or silent about the medical and humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Why do you think that is? And when the suffering is so clearly one-sided as you've described, how do you
Mm.
think that neutrality, like when does neutrality become an unethical stance?
I'm not sure all of them are. I mean, I suppose you want everyone to be neutral. You don't want bias.
Mm,
But you have organizations like the UN now, or WHO, OCHA, who are speaking out and saying, and even Oxfam and Amnesty International, they're all saying that these are war crimes. They're all saying that this is that food is being used as a weapon of war. They're all saying that there is ethnic cleansing.
but is it
Uh,
enough?
uh, but these guys are in organizations. Their remit is to report. It's on the
Mm,
rest to act. I mean, if our politicians are not acting in the West, then it's the people who need to pull them up and say, "Hey, we don't vote for this. We don't believe in what you're doing." But we're not organized. As a lobbying group, we're not organized. We're too busy infighting. Unlike
mm,
the Zionist lobby, I mean, look, we look at APAC. APAC runs America. Where is the Muslim version? Where is anything? As a people, we're so fragmented, and that's and I said to you the analogy earlier about the virus versus the immunity. This is a
mhm,
case of how the virus has affected us, because this constant desire to fragment us, to break uh,
mhm,
our ranks, and to have disunity. This is all the effects of their interventions on us as a people. We have to resist this. Um, Kirsta. So I'll tell you, Angela Rayner, for example, the deputy prime minister. I sat with
mhm,
her when I came out of Mission One, when she was still in the opposition, and she welcomed me to the. Uh, it's not the House of Commons. There's a building right next opposite, which
mhm,
houses has the offices for the members of parliament. And she said to me, she said, Wallahi, she said to me that amongst many things, she said to me, there are dark forces at play.
mm,
There are men in suits who are controlling things. And she said, oh, but as a Labour Party, we believe in the Palestinian state. we will do more to stop weapons being delivered to Israel because they're now being, used for war crimes. We will do more to push humanitarian aid and so on and so forth. But Keir Starmer doesn't even want to use the word genocide, and he's a former prosecution a lawyer for human rights violations. The irony of it all, they sell their morals and they sell everything when they come to power. And then you have to ask yourself, how powerful is this group, this lobbying group,
Yeah.
this opposition? Where are all their tentacles? How far up politicians are they?
Hmm.
And across the world, and even in our own countries. It's we are in a state where, honestly, the world is so disgusting that martyrdom would feel like a breath of fresh air in comparison to living with these oppressors and seeing this injustice, which is just disgusting to any human that has any morality or values the sanctity of life or has any ethics. Martyrdom is a better situation.
You've been extremely vocal about having unity on your social media, especially after the fall of Syria to HTS forces. But as we saw recently, Trump sat down with Giuliani and they came to their own conclusions. Do you believe that that unity can be achieved despite so much misinformation and propaganda, especially within the Muslim world?
Yeah.
I mean, just a couple
It's
days
a
ago,
it's a very complex scenario. And when
yeah.
you start to mix a little bit with politics, you see that how it's all a game of deception and all a game of
Mm,
lies, and how it's all a game of fooling one another, um, because that's what it is, right? And when you get into or you start to become aware of political maneuvering, it gets nuanced and it gets tricky. Um, Look, there are some things that are undeniable here. Giuliani historically was Al Qaeda, was even ISIS at one point. He claims that he defected. He was in Iraqi prisons for many years, and there is a witness testimony from a politician in Iraq who says that he was. I can't remember whether he was broken free or he was removed from the Iraqi jails, and he landed in American
mm,
hands. And the Iraqis demanded that they give him back, and the Americans refused. And then he pops up later on in Syria, leading a rebellion. Look, so that's a fact, right? Nobody can deny that. There's also another scenario. The other fact is that a lot of Syrians, whether you agree with him or not, they like him and they want him.
mm,
And they want him as their leader. And so you're in a situation where you have to deal with this reality that he's now
yeah.
become the president of Syria.
Mhm,
What you can do is, if he wants to come to the international community, is start to make him, accountable. So when you have the
mm,
slaughter of innocents on Syrian soil, in its own version of ethnic cleansing, then we have to hold them to that, and it's down to neighboring countries to
yeah.
be the voice for those people. And we all know what I'm referring to. Um, the voice for unity is very tricky. It becomes very tricky in a situation like this. You've seen how they've become united, Syria with Gulf states. They want prosperity for one another, and they're willing to sell the Palestinian cause down the drain for that. So then it leaves the Palestinians in a very dire situation. But
Yeah.
the reality might be is that they were the cost of it, and that's the price that has to be paid for the rest of the countries. But having said all that, um, uh, we do not fear the path of justice because of how few people wish to be upon it. This is the saying of
Mm.
Imam Ali alayhi salam.
Mhm.
And we know that this whole life, this entire existence is just a station. And
Yeah.
so we will never accept that our brothers and sisters in Gaza or Palestine or anywhere else will be sold or betrayed and accept that it's a price worth paying. This is
Yeah.
not in our moral compass at all. So we resist. And look, there's a very important concept, okay,
Mhm.
and that is Nasr, or Nasrun min Allah. And Nasr, or victory, it does not come from us. It
Mhm.
comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nasr comes from Allah. What we must do as people is continue to resist, continue to stick to our morality. This is the internal jihad. Continue
Mhm.
to stay focused, be patient. Patience is not a passive process. Patience means, Islamically at least, that we endure actively, we endure suffering actively, and we take
Mhm.
it, we keep moving. And so for us, Nasr comes from Allah. For us is Isbat. We have to just remain steadfast and firm to the ground, and Allah will grant us Nasr. But we do
Yeah.
not let up on our morals, and we do not let up on our principles, even for the dirty game of politics, which is what it is.
When you went to Gaza and came back,
Yeah.
your life changed.
Mhm.
Did you feel the sense of imposter syndrome? Did you feel guilt? Drinking, eating, sleeping? Were
Yeah.
you able to sleep? And then now wanting to go back and being denied, how does that make you feel? And why were you denied?
Yeah. Definitely coming out, you have what's called survivor's guilt, I suppose.
Mhm.
I remember coming out of Gaza, and the only reason I would ever have left is for my mother. No, there is no pleasure in food or
Yeah.
this or that. My sleep has never been the same. I still don't sleep well all this time later. My mind is constantly there. My mind is fixed there. And so you ask me, how do I feel about being rejected? Of course, I'm heartbroken. I have tried to lobby so hard along the World Health Organization and down different political avenues,
Mhm.
which is why I'm in the Middle East. And I'm still trying. I'm still trying to force the situation to make them have a party, force them to take us in.
Mhm.
Am I holding my breath? No. Is there a chance that I will never see Gaza again? Absolutely. Because does not stop me from trying to do other things for Gaza. And that's what
Yeah.
I do now on the outside. At the beginning, I was very down, but you cannot waste that energy.
Yeah.
You must learn to use it as rocket fuel, as a
Mhm.
fire in your belly to push you forward to do other things. And that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you
so,
think that they rejected you because you're being so vocal
oh,
about what you've
100%.
seen?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I've had it on good
You've
intelligence that,
seen too
in
much.
fact, I've seen too much, I've spoken too much, but also I have been told by different diplomatic routes that if I were to go to Gaza again, I would be targeted.
Wow.
But this does not make me
Who was
shy away
talking?
from going, oh, not even 1%, not even a fraction of a percent. In fact, it makes me want to go more.
Mhm.
And inshallah I will. Inshallah I
Yeah.
will. Just pray that whatever, have a little bit of faith in, or a little bit of hope rather, in some of the negotiations taking place in these days will result in a ceasefire and result in us being able to go back to Gaza to help and work and alleviate pain and suffering.
You mentioned at the beginning of the interview about the saying from Imam Hussein of will there be no one to help us?
Yeah.
So did you feel like you were that helping force for the people in Gaza? You were answering directly to that kind of a call, right?
It meant I don't know if anyone can be that person, but it's more that at least I was trying. At least I was in the right place. At least I would, when I wake up in the morning and I wash my face, I can look myself in the mirror. I can say, at least I'm here. And when I'm here, I'm giving you everything, absolutely everything. I'm trying my absolute best, morning, day, night. I'm there. I'm helping in the OR. I'm operating, and the people of Gaza testify for me. They speak, and they will tell you, because of this cry, "Hal min nasirin yansuruna," and for sure. And by the way, they are not alien to what Imam Hussein Salamullah alayhi did in Karbala. They are very aware, and they know that they represent the modern day battlefield of Karbala, and that they have been betrayed and left to the slaughter. But they will
Such a
say,
beautiful, yeah.
but they will say, "Hayhat minna dhilla." That's what they say to me. Wallahi, this is what they write to me. "Hayhat minna dhilla."
That's such a beautiful stance of unity.
Yeah.
It
Imam
really
Hussein
is.
is for all Muslims. He's not for one sect. Imam Hussein is the grandson of our dear Prophet, Sayyidi Shabab Ahl Jannah. He's for everyone. His stance is for everyone. He belongs to everyone, not to any particular group. And so everyone must learn from him. Everyone must draw inspiration from him. And that's what they're doing. And that's what they're
Did
doing.
you feel closer to the Imam Zaman while you were there? Is that why you want to go back?
I said to myself that, look, there are differences amongst Muslims, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can believe that he's born, or you can believe that he will be born, but is a tenet of your belief that he will come. And he will fill this earth with justice, as it was filled with oppression. And he will come with Sayyidina al-Masih. This is a belief for all Muslims. And I look at the events unfolding, and I say to myself, if those days were to arrive, and our Mahdi, Salamullah alayhi, would appear, am I ready? Or do I become ready when he comes? No, I must be ready. And so I have in my own life, previously, I went through a very difficult phase in my life where I was dealt a very unjust card, and I used that to be reborn. I used that to find my way closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this was before Gaza. And so, subhanAllah, that preparation, that difficulty in my life made me ready for Gaza, and I was ready for Gaza. I was ready to go and sacrifice. And maybe Gaza is preparing me for something more. Allahu alam. But this is how we must view our lives. We must be ready. Are you that person that can stand and defend shoulder to shoulder or behind? And if you're not, then what steps must you take? But of course, this they tell us it's this messianic battle. They're telling us. They're trying to destroy. Excuse me. They're trying to destroy Masjid al-Aqsa and build their temple. They're trying to get the red heifers or whatever they're called, and they're trying to slaughter or give qurban in the Masjid al-Aqsa. And we have footage, very clear footage. And if you've not seen it, I suggest you go and look at it, where Netanyahu is spoken to by a rabbi, a big prominent one rather, and he says to him, "You're not doing enough to bring about the advent of the Messiah." And he says to him, "We are working." And this is like a 20-year-old, possibly 20-year-old recording, and they were
Mm.
working. They are working. It's a
They're working
long
toward.
project. Of course they are, and we're all in a caught in our heads in the skies, and we're not.
Distracted by the worldly things, and they do that on purpose to make you distracted in order to pull you away from the true causes and the true calling.
Distracted by restaurants and malls and this or that, or making sure that we have watch a great movie or this sort of nonsense. And I was guilty of that before, you
Mhm.
know. But you have an opportunity to change. You have an opportunity to open your eyes. If Gaza doesn't open your eyes, what will?
What is your final message or what is the message that you're trying to carry across the globe?
I am trying to tell our Muslim brothers and sisters, all denominations, if you want to undo hundreds of years of Zionist agenda and millions and billions, if not trillions of dollars spent to destroy us, it's just, one thing. One
Mm.
thing. This is to clear your heart from hatred towards one another. Cleanse your heart from sectarianism. Look at your Muslim brother as your actual brother, irrespective of whether they are Sunni or Shi'i, because we are one. The Muslim Ummah is one. We are one body. And if one part
Yeah.
of our body experiences pain, the rest of it should be overcome with a fever, as our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said. And he also told us of a time where we will be upon, he was upset about the future state of the Muslims. And they asked him, why? Is this because there will be a few of us? And he said, no, there will be many of you. And that those that seek to destroy us will it will be as if they're sitting around the table and feasting on us.
Mm-hmm.
This is how we are. They're coming and they're feasting on us, walking away with hundreds of billions of dollars. And there are nearly 1.5 billion Muslims. If 5 million Egyptians out of 120 decided that's it and just walk towards Rafah, you would finish the war. In
Yeah.
Jordan, you have the 60-70% Palestinians. If you walk towards the crossing, you'd stop the war. But everyone's gripped by internal fear, and everyone is worried about themselves and not about their brother. And this is the article of faith. None of you truly believe until you love for your brother what you love for yourself.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tahir, for joining us today and for giving us all of your insight and for sharing with us your experiences. It's very invaluable.
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you for joining me on this latest episode today. If you like what you see here at TMJ News, please like and share this video and subscribe to the channel for more content. TMJ is grassroots media for the people and by the people. TMJ News is your news, your voice, and your movement to resist the occupation of the mind. Join the movement on Patreon today at TMJ News Network.